Hello everyone, this is Awkward Audrey and welcome to my art hour. Today I will be doing a self-portrait with acrylic paints and I will be discussing the two topics, how to use a reference photo in your artwork and how to use acrylic paint and acrylic painting, just general painting techniques. Hi Cindy! Um, so what's today's painting is a little bit different because it is a much bigger canvas that I'm working on. It's not too big, but it is a little bit bigger than the 9 by 12 watercolor can't like paper that I've been using before. And I wanted to, so the setup has to be a little bit different in order for you to see the whole canvas and for me to still be able to explain the techniques and still actually see my phone and like be able to comment and talk to you, which is honestly my favorite part is being able to talk with my audience and say, hey, you have any questions and getting your input. The transition time is going to be a little bit longer today uh, because of this painting being a little bit bigger. But it's also going to take a little bit longer because of the amount of preparation I had to do beforehand. It's not too much preparation, but because of the topics that I'm going to be talking about, I wanted to make sure that when I discuss each detail with you on how I prepared for this, that I go into enough detail because you're going to encounter a lot of what I have encountered. I want to make sure you're prepared when you go and do this by yourself. So today's talking is going to be a little bit longer. Hi, Kathy. Then today's like pre-talk is going to be a little bit longer than previous art hours, but where there's still going to be plenty of time for painting and drawing. All right, so without further ado, let's dive into how to get started with your self-portrait acrylic painting. Okay, switching camera. Okay, so here we have, I'm using two TV table trays today. Haha. So the supplies that we will be using today are, or that I used are the mechanical pencil, just regular old mechanical pencil, and kneaded eraser. And I like this mechanical pencil because it's got a finer, let's see what size this is, 0.7 millimeter, and it can get some of the finer lines figured out. And also the kneaded eraser because it pretty much picks up whatever you put down. It's a very handy tool, buddy to have in times of need and crisis. So what I've worked on so far has been with the mechanical pencil and the kneaded eraser. And we'll be doing that later today as I finish the sketching out the rest of my self-portrait. The other items here will be my actual self-portrait, which I printed and I put a grid on. We'll be discussing that in a minute. And the canvas panel. I wanted to take a second to talk about the canvas panel. This is a much cheaper version for painting. Usually how you see canvas, it's good to go kneaded. Yes. Always want to be kneaded in life, don't you? So how this is in a canvas board instead of a canvas frame. And how this works is that it's just canvas that's been stretched and wrapped around cardboard and then sealed on the back. And this is generally a much cheaper version if you want to, and it is very versatile for different mediums, not just acrylic painting, but also like oil painting and other whatever you want. Maybe not watercolor, but pretty much whatever you want paint-wise, with acrylics or oils or whatever. Canvas board is a really good way to go. It's pretty cheap. And you usually come in packs. So that's what I used for that. We'll be using acrylic paints today. And I have a whole array of acrylic paints, right? But something I just wanted to touch base on was that you can mix and match brands for the most part. Like it's not going to hurt your painting or affect your painting very much. But just be mindful of which one will dry matte and which one will dry gloss. I decided that all the colors that I would need I could use with one brand, which was Apple Barrel, and they all had matte finish. So that is what that's what we're going to be using today for our different colors. Help! Hello, Kathy. Oh, that's what Grandma painted on. Yeah, it's just really handy. Because let me tell you, I went to an art store nearby, and getting actual acrylic frames, not acrylic frames, canvas frames, super expensive. And I don't want super cheap products because you want canvas that's not going to warp on you. But at the same time, I don't think I'm ready for that just yet. The expensive products that they were selling, I was not ready just yet. So today we'll be working with brushes. I have a whole bunch. I'll show you later. And then we have brush water and paper towels. And if you don't have paper towels, a rag will do. Something that you should know about acrylic paint, and I will tell you every time, is that it is permanent. If it gets on your clothes or on the wall or on the floor or whatever, it is pretty much there. If it is in any way porous, so be careful when using acrylic paint. It will be there for life, and it's very difficult to get out once it has dried. If it's still wet, you can still save whatever the paint has gotten on, but once it's dried, you're toast. Okay, so all right, those are the supplies. Let's get down to choosing how to do a self-portrait. Okay, so let's see. So when choosing a self-portrait, there are a lot of different things to consider. Ultimately, it is up to you, right? Because it is your self-portrait. Ultimately, what you want is something to show that is uniquely you, and it can be based on an activity that you're doing. Like if you are a dancer and you have a picture of yourself dancing and you want to express that in a self-portrait, that's a perfect way to do that. There's no problem with that. However, you don't want it to be mistaken for any other dancer, right? So one of the reasons that I wanted to use my own face is because my face is pretty unique. This is definitely me. You're not going to confuse me with any other self-portrait that I'm going to do, right? So I think that faces are easiest when trying to do a self-portrait. Hi, Sam. Thanks for joining. And a couple other things when choosing a self-portrait would be you want a picture that is not too detailed, that's going to make you crazy with all the details when you're trying to replicate it when using a reference picture, and something that you can easily modify if needed. So like you can see here, I chose this picture and there's nothing really going on in the background. I don't have this crazy patterned shirt, but it's clearly me, and that is and it's going to be easy to work with. If I wanted to add or subtract anything from this picture, it'll be easy to go with. Hi, Jason. Thank you for joining. Okay, so I chose this picture for a few reasons. One, because I am smiling, and not just because I'm smiling. I know I like to think, I'm pretty when I just smile, but more so it's a little bit silly. I kind of got a little bit of a silly expression. You don't know really what I'm up to. Probably going to be fine. I'm probably nice, but I might be a little mischievous. So I like this picture for that reason. I like that there's enough space. If I did want to add something, I can. And again, not too many details. When I go to focus or when I go to paint, I can focus on the things that are unique about me in this picture. For instance, like I wear glasses. I have long hair. There's this necklace that has that Sam got me, my husband got me, when we went on an anniversary vacation. That it means a lot to me. So these things are all all items I want to focus on, but I don't have to wade through any other, like a lot of other details. I can just focus on like my face, for the portrait, my glasses, that necklace, and you can pretty much tell these are all important aspects of my self-portrait. And also the lighting itself allows me to be a little bit more playful with colors and textures. So you may be wondering, why did I paint this in black and white? I have a perfectly capable printer of doing this in color. So why did I go black and white? It helps me figure out the lighting, right? So if you are using a vibrant picture, or you are painting a vibrant piece, sometimes it helps to view it in black and white to see if anything needs to be adjusted. So you're looking at a picture like something's not quite right. What's going on? And it might be because you have your values or the colors that you are using are too dark or are too light, and and you just can't see that because the colors themselves are distracting you. So if you go into a black and white, you print something black and white, you can take a better look at it and see, well, are there areas that you want to be lighter, or are there areas you want to be darker? It's an interesting technique I highly suggest you guys use if you're wondering about the different values of whatever piece you're working on. And another big reason, the main reason I wanted to print in black and white is because this is not going to, while it's going to be me and I'm going to try and paint my face realistically, I don't want the colors to actually be realistic. I kind of want to go with two-ish main colors that aren't realistic at all, and use those two colors to paint this self-portrait. And getting rid of all the color completely will make it easier for me to think that way. So that is why I have chosen a black and white printing of my self-portrait. So, all right, let's get started on how to use this reference photo in creating your self-portrait. Let's see. I'm going to sit down. I'm actually standing up right now, and I want to sit down. When working on a kaleidoscope canvas, we took a picture of it on the phone in black and white. Yeah, there we go. See, it's very useful technique to use over a wide variety of mediums. I didn't even think about that with the kaleidoscope, or even with polymer clay. That's a really good point. Okay. So, oh shoot. So when sorry. I forgot I was going to use my ruler for this, and I put it away. I don't know where I put it. So I'll just try to describe this as best as I can. The main technique I have used here is to, because as great as I am at drawing, it is just a lot easier to be able to break things down into simple parts, especially when it comes to a self-portrait that has to look like you. And I don't remember how I started that sentence, but making a grid on here means that I can pretty much do whatever I need to in order to transfer this picture onto this canvas. Okay. So the steps you need to take when if I had a ruler, I would be showing you how I did it. But I don't know where my ruler is, so we're going to use my hands as best as possible. So the steps there are 2 steps, big steps, on how to set yourself up to get this picture onto that canvas. First, it's drawing the grid on the photo. You have to decide what scale or measurements you want to use and confirm that it can be matched on the canvas that you are using. There's no point in trying to make a rectangle fit onto a rectangle picture fit onto a square canvas unless you're willing to make that rectangle much smaller, right? Unless you're willing to accept there's going to be space on a square on each side of the square canvas. Or there's going to be extra space that you're going to have to work with in order to get the entire picture on there. Then the second step is to draw the matching grid on the canvas, so that when you go, you can, so let's see here, I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and 1 through 14 down here. That is on here as well, so that when I go to draw in each square, I know exactly which square I'm referencing on my photo. If the canvas doesn't exactly match, which this canvas did not, and I wanted to kind of showcase that a little bit, this is where the reference photo was used, and this is just the extra space that was used in that was on the canvas. Just need to kind of adjust and orient as needed. I didn't want to center it. That just seemed a little too complicated. So what I did was I just decided this corner was going to be like the anchor corner, and then any extra space would be on the left of the canvas and bottom of the canvas. Right, and then this last part, when you're transferring this to that, if the scale or measurements will be different, be extra careful with the math. And this is where we're going to talk about how cheap this canvas was. So this canvas says it is a 14 by 18 canvas. That was a lie. That was a lie. This it is short by ½ inch on each dimension. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can use inches, because this is 8.5 by 11, 14 by 18. It's pretty darn close. It's pretty close. I can pretty much match for match to scale these different sizes, right? But they're not. They weren't the same. They were off by ½ inch on like both sides. So I decided, okay, and I'm just going to try and make this a little simpler. I will use centimeters instead and adjust from there. So these squares are 2 by 2, and then when I went to go onto here, I went 3 by 3, so that we could scale up, so it would fit onto the canvas, and there would still take up as much space as possible without cutting too much of the picture off of the canvas. Okay, let's see. Take a look. Okay, so just so you guys know, at this point, before I even got to actually drawing onto this canvas, it took me about an hour to get just to like, okay, I'm going to pick this photo, I'm going to print this photo, I'm going to draw a grid on the picture, and then I'm going to draw a grid on the canvas. That took about an hour. So if you get to this point in your own self-portrait or your own reference photo, then I'm sorry, I'm a little tired today. If you get to that point, you're like, wow, this is taking forever. I'm not sure if I want to do this. It's not worth it. Be patient with yourself if it starts to feel overwhelming, or if you feel like you're not making enough progress. I promise it is all part of the process. You're going to be okay, and it's going to be totally worth it, because this will empower you to use your photo to the best of its ability. Okay, so now we'll get to the actual drawing of my portrait. Now, faces, just in general, I'm just going to throw it out there. Faces are really important. They're super important, because if you get a face wrong, it is, the viewer will be able to tell almost instantly. They might not know exactly why it's wrong, but they'll know that something's a little off. And so there are two features that when you're drawing a face, there are two features that you really need to focus on getting accurate. The first and foremost is the eyes. right? You want the eyes to be look level, not one eye droopy or one eye higher. Hi, Deborah. Thanks for joining. We're just going over on how to sketch a portrait. And the two most important features are the eyes and the mouth. So with your eyes, make sure that they're level, that they're sized correctly, or at least evenly. And then the second is the mouth, because these two are ultimately the most expressive parts of the face, and a little minor tweak here or there will affect the emotion that's coming through, whether or not it is, or whether or not even looks like the same person, right? Like so many other features can be changed. And you'll be like, oh yeah, that's still so and so. But if the eyes or the mouth are just a little bit too different, then it doesn't look like the same person at all. Okay, so I've already done that on here. See that took, this also took about an hour. So we're 2 hours into this project already. And we're prepped and ready to go for how to draw using the grid. And I decided to leave one item out, which would be the necklace. And we'll start with that. Oh, also, hi Shannon, thanks for joining. Another thing I have left out, and I'll just put that out there right now. I do wear glasses. Glasses are part of what I look like, and I look a little different without them if you haven't seen me without them before. I've left them out right now because I want to be able to paint the face however I need to before mucking about with the glasses. This will just be a smoother transition if I can just do the face first and then I can put the glasses on top of it rather than doing the face and the glasses and realizing I need to make a change somewhere and having to work around the glasses. Hi from Wisconsin. Yes, yes, yes. From the Midwest. Okay. Oh, so while I'm actually talking about that, let's just talk about a couple other modifications that I have made or will be making. I was wearing earbuds in this picture. I will not be wearing earbuds. I'm going to take this cord out. I'm not going to paint that. Not going to draw it. And also, I was wearing like a scarf around at this time, and you can see the scarf on one arm but not the other. I think I do like having the scarf there. So when I go to paint and edit, I think I'm going to add a scarf to this. Ooh, excuse me. I'm going to add a scarf to this arm. Let's see. All right, I'm going to tape this to the wall behind here so I can, if I need to, I can reference it back. Eventually these grid lines are not going to be here and I'm going to have to look at the photo itself. So this will help me if I just keep this taped up to the within sight. Just 1 second. There we go. Within sight. Hi, Spencer. Thank you for joining. When you go in to actually draw your self-portrait, there is a temptation. There is a temptation to make kind of Photoshop your picture, right? So like I know when I just in general when I just even take a picture, like I look a little bit more unnatural. You know, my eyes look a little bug-eyed and I get like 3 more chins I didn't even know existed in a picture. So, you know, like when you go to paint it, you know, like you could go, oh, well, I don't need those extra chins, right? I can just erase those. Oh, you know, that acne or that droopy eye, or I don't quite like how my hair is looking. You can make minor edits to those. Hi, Haley. Thanks for joining. So you can make minor edits to your photo, but at the end of the day, you want it to look like you. So you're going to have to kind of embrace the aspects of you that are distinctly yours in the unique set of aspects that are you. As you don't want to modify it so much that, you know, you started with, like, I could have started with Audrey and ended up at the end of the sketch with like Emma Watson or Halle Berry. Like, that's not me. I can edit it so it looks like that, but it's not me at the end of the day. So when you go to sketch, you know, and you're deciding what details to leave in and what details to leave out, just remember you gotta show you as best as you can. And don't worry about if you aren't quite if you're a little self-conscious about things that you don't like about yourself. It's perfectly fine, but you don't need to make too many changes. Okay, so now we're going to kind of adjust here. I'm going to start sketching in the necklace. Okay, it's going to take me a minute with the setup here. This is a little different. Okay, so I'm looking up at the reference photo up there, and then we're going to be putting in little details into each of these squares. So as you can see, I erased a lot of the ones inside here because at the end of the day I wanted to be able to make sure that these looked fine, and it's a little hard to do that when there's lines all over the face. But for this, we're going to keep the grid in as much as possible for the necklace, and then at the end we're going to erase the grid lines, and we'll be all prepped and ready to go for paint. Okay, so when drawing shapes in each grid, box, square, it helps to start with, you can start trying with curved lines or whatever, right? But ultimately you can start with very simple shapes. You can start with squares, rectangles, triangles, and circles. You can also measure, you know, like, oh, you know, like this is exactly half of a, like, say, let's see, for instance, I'm going to take down my self-portrait here. So let's say for instance, in F12, right? In F12 is the pendant. And you can see here, so it's a circle, right? So when I go in, I'm going to sketch a circle, and this part is going to be about half, a little bit lower than halfway in the grid, right? So when I go in, I'm going to sketch that, and I could measure that exactly if I really wanted. I could do that, and I could perfectly replicate what's on here onto this canvas. That takes a lot of time, and it's not necessary, especially when you're just expressing yourself. You just want to be able to get the idea that this is an important item to me, and you want it to look like that item, but you don't need it to be exact. You just need it to look as close as possible. So here we go. We're going to start with, let's see, and I'm a left to right, top to bottom kind of person. So we're going to start with this space. This space right here is where the necklace starts. So it starts about, if you just kind of, I like to ground myself along the lines and then work my way in, right? So this is about, if this was the halfway point, it starts at the halfway point and works its way towards the left. So we're going to find the halfway point here and kind of work its way towards the left. And it looks like it is, I don't know, about a third, right? Generally about a third thick of that. And so we're going to kind of just take this, and we're going to work with a triangle, right? So this is curved, right? But for just getting the basic form onto the canvas, it doesn't have to be curved. It can be straight, and then you can go back later and make it more smooth. So I'm going to just find a point here, and I'm going to say, okay, well, look at that kind of triangle figure, right? So this looks like it's about there on the inside of the necklace, and we're just going to make a kind of flat curvish line. There we go. There we go. We've got it started. And then we can just continue making triangles from this grid to that grid, this square to that square, from that square to the square, and all the way up through the necklace. Let's see. The center of the necklace is, I'd say, about here in that square. And make it like that. Stepping away for a bit. Oh, no. Feed the doggos. It is that time. Okay. So that's about a little more than half. Just a tad. Smidge. And then this is pretty much on the corner there. And then it wraps up all the way to my neck. And let's see, where is this line? It's kind of pretty much right there where my neck curves around. So there we go, we've got the inside of the neck traced, very loosely traced. So now let's go around and do the outside of the neck. Not the neck, outside the necklace. And there we go. And finally the pendant. It looks like there's a tiny bead here that's like halfway in one grid, halfway in the other. And then, let's see, there's that final bead from earlier. Here's about the halfway. It's kind of pretty much center, and it hangs off the center of this. And then we just fill in the circle like that. As round as you can make it. Hi Cheryl, thank you for joining. We're currently sketching a smaller picture of a necklace on a printed piece of paper onto a canvas that I can paint on later. Okay, and since there's a bead inside that necklace, go like that. All right. So now we're going to set about going and adding general details to this. Don't need to get too specific. This is not the final drawing. This is just a reference to get me going for when I put acrylic paint onto this canvas. Okay. We're just going to tape it like that. All right. So how is everybody doing this weekend? It was, like, for me, I went out and kind of explored Denver a little bit, which was nice. Got to see, I went to a club that I'd never been to before, but it looked really cool. The clubs here are a little bit cooler than in my hometown, as I'm sure you can imagine. Like, one of them had a whole bunch of, had like 4 different dance floors. Nobody did anything today, huh? This weekend, huh? I think that's a lie. You all just led two interesting lives. You can't say on the internet what you've been up to. Has anybody had any art projects? Oh, did you dance on all four? I did. Let's see. I walked around in two of them, and the other two I danced because they each had different types of music, and the ones I danced on were like 80s music, and then kind of industrial techno music. Okay, I think, let's see, any other details? So I got the necklace in there. Are there any other details I need to make sure here before I go and erase the grid lines? Went up to Artist Point. Oh, I love Artist Point. Death by chocolate zucchini bread. Yum. Hi, Terry. Thank you for joining. I forgot to do some of the shading here. That's fine. Okay. So I think, there we go. So that is how you use the grid to get your reference photo onto another medium. It can be watercolor, it could be acrylic, it could be oils, it could be a sculpture for all we know. But using a grid is very helpful to create, to take something that already exists and be able to create it in a different medium. All right. So now I'm going to take the kneaded eraser and erase the grid lines because we don't need them anymore. Just in case this comes up, because I'm a little practiced at this. It has been a while. This is stuff I learned in, gosh, high school. So this is like Art 101. If you know how to put a pen, if you know how to draw basic shapes, you can do this. But if at any point you go through and you're doing this, and you're like, wow, this is just not working. I feel a little overwhelmed. This particular square is really difficult. There are a couple things you can do. You can just break it down into a smaller box. Like, say for instance, I really wanted to put in a lot of detail in these beads. I could break this down even further into boxes and even further into boxes until I got it into a bite-sized amount where I could just draw those simple squares, triangles, and circles to help me get the shapes that I wanted. That is one way to tackle a square that is a little too difficult, because maybe your squares were just too big and they weren't condensed enough for you to be able to simply handle all the details in each box. But, you know, if that, oh shoot, don't want to erase this. But if you're worried about that too, and it's just becoming overwhelming, it is okay to move on to the next square. Like, I left this for last because it was one of the more detailed ones. And it's really simple. What's really, really simple to draw was this shoulder. Okay, it's like literally one line in each grid. So when I was feeling a little too overwhelmed with a particular grid in box over here, I could just move on to another piece or another square over here, and by choosing to complete the easier parts of the grid, you will have more confidence when you go back to that troublesome square, and you'll just be like, okay, well, that's a troublesome square, but I've got most of this complete. I can work through this. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by a particular square, don't let it get to you. Take a step back, break it down into easier bite-sized chunks, and you'll be able to, it might take a little extra work, but you'll be able to work through it. Okay. Oh, sorry guys. Okay. Okay, making sure I got this. There. All right. There we go. And that is, let's see, oh, we wanted to make one more modification to the shoulder here. I want it to match that shoulder, which had a little bit of a shrug, a little bit of a sleeve on it from a little scarf that I was wearing. So we're going to do that on this side as well. Minor modification just to make it a little more symmetrical. There we go. Ta-da! Yeah. And just so you know, like I used a Sharpie to show you this. I normally do not put this here. I know when I'm working on it that this page is not going to exactly match that, that page is not going to exactly match this canvas. This was just so you guys could see, to emphasize that it doesn't have to match the canvas exactly. But I don't recommend putting on the dark Sharpie if there's not going to be a dark color to cover it up. If you try to put yellow on this, you'd need like 6 layers of yellow in order to cover up the black Sharpie. Okay. Okay. Now we have this ready to go. Let's get painting. It's kind of the scary part because I'm a pretty practical person, right? So when it comes to doing abstract, it's either completely abstract or it's exactly as much as possible. And so trying to find a middle ground is a little discomforting for me, but it's a good kind of discomfort. So the colors that I have chosen for today are these ones. Oop. Okay. Ta-da! I've decided that if I was going to make a two-tone color, I wanted it to be a warm color and I wanted it to be a cool color. And so I decided I kind of wanted a green that was a little bit blue, and I couldn't tell if I wanted it to be a little bit more blue, like a bimini blue, or if I wanted to be a little bit more blue, like this color's name is Too Blue. So I'm not really sure. It's going to be green with a little bit of this or a little bit of this added. It could be I change my mind and I use all of these, but that's where I'm starting. And then I decided I want it to be red, but just a little bit of a soft red, not that harsh, vibrant, kind of emergency red. I wanted it to be just a tiny bit softer, so I will be adding a little bit of this bright magenta to this red. So here are the two main colors will be Holly Branch and Flag Red, and then to kind of soften it and make them more interesting to look at, we will be using these colors, mixing up these colors with them. And if I want them to be lighter or darker, I decided to go with, just normal white, and I decided to go with melted chocolate brown. As you guys have probably heard me say before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it till the end of time, black is a great color for darkening things, but I feel like it is overused, and there are better ways to go about darkening colors. And just more interesting ways that don't gray out colors that exist. So I know that there's probably black in this, right? But if I wanted to darken any of these colors, adding a little bit of brown will just make it darker, but not lose that vibrant color that I like. So and that just goes in general. I try to avoid black when I can. Not because I don't like black, there are specific uses for black that I really like, but I find that my paintings can be more interesting if it has like a dark purple, or a dark blue, or a dark green, or a dark red, or a brown. Like that's just to me more interesting than just using straight up black. Okay, there we go. All right, Here are my brushes. I've finally gone through all my, Deborah, I really want zucchini bread now. It sounds so good. I finally went through all my art supplies and condensed it and organized them. Oh, that's a hair. That's an Audrey hair. And here we go. Here's all my paint brushes that I have. Some of them are better than others. Some of them I have definitely abused and not taken care of. So I'm hoping I'll take better care of these brushes. All right. So I think for today, let's see, we want, I think, to get color onto the canvas, and not, before we do any precise work, we want a round brush. Let's see. So let's go with this one here. It's round all the way, it's not flat. And maybe for those finer lines, we'll use a smaller, rounder brush. That's just to get started. Nothing fancy. And I can change it anytime I want to get started. Okay. I'm going to adjust this a little bit so I can work on this. So the camera's going to be a little bit to the side of the here. Okay. Working with a bigger canvas is a little bit trickier. We're gonna get closer. We're gonna get closer. We still need light. So there we go. So I think the rules I'm going to go by for this painting and the colors that I chose, because with the abstract colors I need to choose rules by which to paint these. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, let's see, there are a couple ways I could do this. I could have the, let's see, so these are going to be my two main colors, right? Almost Christmas, but I don't want it to look like Christmas. I think I'll have like the background and the hair be it the dark green and like the skin tone, and the face be the warm colors. And maybe the shiny parts of the hair will be the warm colors as well. I think that's where I'm going to go with it. And unfortunately, I couldn't find my paper plates, so we're using my regular food plate, which I don't recommend doing, but unless you're going to be cleaning it right up afterwards, because it's not porous, so we'll clean up. It's just easier. It's just easier not to do that if you don't have to. Okay. Oh my God, guys, this is the scary part. Where do I start? Where do I even start? I'm not really worried about the grid lines on the back. Acrylic paint will just cover them right up because it's not yellow. I won't be using yellow. So let's just kind of start with, let's see, here we go. Make things more bite-sized and work your way up to the more difficult parts of the painting. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the background and kind of get a feel for how the colors work on the background, and then I'll start with in on the hair. I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Shake, 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 shake. This isn't all new. This is new paint. And since it'll be the background, I think I'm going to use the darker blue. And I'm going to have to get the plastic part off. New paint means opening things up for the first time. There we go. Shake it up. Ah! Work out that aggression. Oh my goodness, that bubbled right out. Woo! Good times. And that's why we have paper towels. Don't need paint everywhere. Okay. Right? It is fun opening up new bottles. Okay. So I'm using something, you can use like a little spatula if you want to mix up colors. A lot of people do, and it's really satisfying. I'm just going to be really boring and use my brush. Okay, here we go. Darker green. I'm going to start with the background over here. And make sure to get the edges. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to prep. I forgot to prep the canvas. Oh well. A good way to, you don't need to do this, but it is a good idea, is to put water on top of the canvas first. You know what? I think I'm going to take a step back and do that. 1 second. Let's get a different brush. Okay, just put water. I'm going to put water all over this. This is looking really yellow on the, wow, it's looking really yellow on my phone here. So you may be wondering, why is she putting water onto the canvas that she's about to put paint on and cover it up? What this does is it will make it easier for the paint to go on, right? Like think of it like a kind of a moisturizer for your canvas. It'll just make the paint easier. I like putting on moisturizer right before you put on makeup, right? Okay. It's just a lot easier to put makeup on freshly hydrated skin. Another reason to put water onto your canvas is that it will take care of any little air bubbles in between the texture of the canvas. Don't need too much water. Too much water might start to warp, especially on a framed canvas. This is a cardboard, this is a panel canvas. But yeah, it's just it's a good technique. Not necessary, but it helps to get all those little air bubbles out, so when you go and paint, you don't have little blops of white poking through when it dries. All right, there you go. Let's get this started. Okay. Gonna need some more paint. This chair, I tell ya. Why, yes. I'm sorry, I think I might have missed something. Deb, are you asking a question? Or Debbie? Debbie. So this green I'm doing is about 2 parts green, 1 part blue. Get the edges there. Okay. And we're just gonna kind of go and make the shirt the same color as well, I think. It all kind of nicely blends in together in my picture, my reference picture. Why the water? Oh, just for the air bubbles? No, it's just the air bubbles, and it just makes the paint go on smoother. I think I might have put on a little too much water. As you can see, it's kind of affecting how translucent the acrylic paint is. That's okay. We're just getting this base set up, this background set up. And right now it looks like I'm kind of wearing a toga on here. Oh yeah, you can see over here. Yeah, let's take a look. You can see over here. You can see it's more like a grid because water didn't get there. Whereas over here, with white spaces, where over here it's a grid but with paint because the paint got into all those little nooks and crannies because of the water. Let's see if I can get a closer look here. Take it off the stand. See, so like this area didn't have water. This area did have water. So I hope that kind of emphasizes the difference that water can make when applying paint to a canvas. It is really dark in here. Just a second. I'm going to open up some windows for a second. There we go. It's a little bit better. There's a part of the day where if the windows are open in the afternoon, it just gets scorchingly hot in the apartment. Okay, taking a step back here. How does that look? I think I like the green around the head. I think, oh, Mom's back! Dogs ate, we went outside. Yes, the mole hunt continues. How goes the mole hunt, Mom? I'm curious. For those of you who don't know, Ellie, the dog, is really interested in capturing the moles that have been invading the backyard. Okay, going for a second coat here, I think. Slightly, just a little bit more blue. Just a second. There's a better way to do this. Maybe? I don't know. Now it's super shiny. Ah! Here we go. Here we go. Hey, Jason! How's it going? Putting on the background color here. I'm kind of painting the bottom of my easel here. That's good. I'm glad. She's supposed to be me. Oh my goodness. If she didn't look like me, I'd be very, very sad. Oh, I hear Samuel coming home. Hey, Sam.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. Still alive?
Yep.
Hi, everybody.
Sam says hi. Oh, this is nice. It's nice to get back into acrylic painting after trying different mediums for so long. Debbie says hi.
Hi, Debbie.
Love you. Can you see that? Okay. Yeah. Jason says hi too.
Oh, hi, Jason.
Oh, hey Jason, have you ever worked on a self-portrait? Like, I know there's like that logo. Your logo is pretty much you, like to a T. But have you ever done more of a detailed self-portrait? Like, I guess anybody really here. Like, self-portraits are a pretty common thing to do. And they're pretty fun. I highly recommend doing them. Just wondering what everybody else did for their self-portrait and how that went and what mediums they used. Okay. So I think I like that green. Yeah, I like that. I'm glad you like it too. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it be a little bit more blue towards the edges so it looks kind of like a vignette. Not recently. Yeah, me neither. I think the last time I did an actual real portrait was like was in uh probably one of my first art classes in college. Yeah, yeah, I haven't done a self-portrait since high school. That sounds about right. It's one of those basic things that you learn how to do um, in art class. I figured it was time. It was time for an update. You know, if I like this well enough, it might become my new profile picture. Okay. Okay, so kind of got the background going. Well, see, I kind of might want it a little bit darker, but we'll keep it as is for right now, and finish up the rest of the painting. And then I'll make adjustments as I go. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at. Let's see. All right, so I'm looking at my picture up here, deciding what colors I want to use next. And to be careful because acrylic paint dries pretty quickly, but I did put it on fairly thick, so it might take a little longer to dry. Doing my little figure 8 here to get all the water out. Okay. I think I'm going to go in with a smaller brush and try to use some red and red pink. So let's mix up some red pink. art class in high school many centuries ago. Charcoal. Ooh, yes, charcoal. Charcoal's so messy, but so pretty. Okay, here we go. Again, breaking in the new paints here. Ah. Ooh, it's so bright. But that might be the color I want. Now that I'm looking at it actually on the thing here. So maybe just a little bit of pink. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. It's pretty neon. This is a pretty neon color. A little bit different than what I was expecting. But I could work with that. Let's see. Let's start with the face. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of putting the paint close to but not at the edge of the line until I'm pretty satisfied with where it is, and then filling it out. And then when I'm comfortable with it, I'm going to kind of push it out more towards the edge so I don't go over it too much. Okay. I look like I'm about to turn into an alien. Okay, so I'm not liking the streaks here, so I'm going to kind of model it and change the texture up a little bit by lightly dotting. Kind of break up those lines. Oops. Smooth that out. The beautiful thing about acrylic paint is that if you make a mistake, you can just always go back and cover it up. It might look a little, if it's a specific texture that you're going for or a specific gradient or shade, it might be a little bit tricky to get it to match exactly as when you're originally doing it, but it's nice. You can kind of tell that the water is dried up a little bit around here, but that's fine. I think I'm gonna go back in with a let's see. Looking at this, I'm going to add some white, and I'm going to start building on top of this after I get this color in. I want it to kind of blend in, you know? Yeah, no. I was away for a minute. Yep, I'm feeling like an Oompa Loompa today. Now, this is just the one color. I'm just putting down one color right now, and then I'm going to work up to different shades of this color. I'm sure that there's a better way to do this, but honestly, it's been a little while. I've kind of forgotten how to best use this. And so right now I'm kind of just going for the shape, getting the shapes down so that when I cover up the lines, I still have a general idea of where everything is because of the strokes that I'm using to define these the space on the canvas. Told you to use sunscreen. Yeah, I'm sorry. Mom, I should have listened. What was I thinking? Yeah, this looks pretty horrendous right now. Don't worry, it's going to look better. It's going to look better. Okay. Okay. Now let us add some white to this mixture. Okay. Let's start here and work our way up. You know, I might just erase these eyebrows here so that we can get a smooth transition on the skin. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking white, taking white, and I already have the exact pigment I want on my brush, so I'm just mixing it up in the brush on here. And then I'm transferring it up here. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, guys. So we're pretty much painting me without eyebrows right now. And we're going to add the eyebrows here afterwards. I feel like I want to take a makeup sponge to this. Hey Liz, thanks for joining. Me make my scary face here. Okay. So this is kind of looking a little horrific. Not gonna lie. Not sure how I want to go about this. We're gonna just press on. It's all part of the show, guys. If any of you have any ideas, let me know. I'm totally open for suggestions. This is not set in stone. I can do whatever I want. Where did this layering technique come from? Um, I don't know. That's a good question. I've seen artists do it several different ways where they start with like light, work to dark, dark, work to light. Um, I think it's just mainly you start from one end of the spectrum and then you work, you layer your way up with the different um, values and different sorry, thinking different values and different shades um, as you go along. One of the things I hope to improve because I'm not, I still, I know I'm still an artist. I still have a lot to learn, right? Is to be able to do abstract art like this with uh, with all sorts of colors. You know, like there's people who do this and they have like a bazillion different shades of these nonsensical colors, but they look really good. I don't know how they do that. So I hope as an artist I can grow and learn how to do that. It takes a lot of practice. Okay. I'm not sure how I'm liking this. I look very burned. So we're going to tinker. We're going to tinker. I'm going to clean my brush. And we're going to go in and we're going to shade with some of the blue-green. And we'll see probably a little more blue than the green. But we're going to see how it looks when I try it. Let's see. Start with the eyebrows. Making sure that I'm not putting my wrist on any of the wet parts here. I'm just kind of hold it steady. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. What colors to go next to get the color you want? Get right up in there, Audrey. Get right up in that nose. look like I'm giving my nose a little mustachio. Have you seen how some people use another paintbrush to steady their hand? I feel like I have, but like not in a long time. It's like I know what you're talking about, but I can't for the life of me imagine what it is you're saying. I don't know why. Okay. We're gonna switch things up a little bit. And we're gonna add some blue. Some of the light blue. Oop, another bubble is happening. Woo! Oh shoot. Just went to go wipe a little blue off, and it ended up being a lot. Oh well. Just so we're clear. Just so we're clear. Paint. This paint is non-toxic, so if I get it on my skin, it is okay. Okay. I didn't really define the rules of how these colors would go together. You know, like where I would use what colors and when. And that's probably one of the issues I am encountering. You put the thin end of a larger paintbrush on the right side of the canvas. Then hold it with your left hand to make a little shelf. Oh, oh, I like that. So it'd be like that. Is that what you're talking about? That seems pretty handy. Nope, not that. Shoot. Don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So this is just me experimenting. Um, I'm figuring out this abstract coloring thing as I go right now. Because I feel like this is just me talking this through too, by the way. I feel like that by adding white, I made this try to look a little too realistic. And by doing that, I made myself look sunburnt. But I looked sunburnt before. So I'm trying to figure out a way to use the vibrancy of these colors to indicate light and dark values without resorting to white colors or adding white to these colors. Okay, I think I can work with this. Okay, I think I can work with this. All right, now I'm a big fan of dotting and dabbing. Some people like to do like these big strokes. That's not really my style. I kind of envy people who can do that. It's just not me though. Okay. I think instead of going pink, like I originally thought, we're going to avoid pink and we're going to go do orange instead. So I'm going to go grab some orange. Okay, so I'm going to try out this instead. Jack-o'-lantern, yes. Yeah, I think white was not the way to go here. Okay. Oh, clean my brush. Need to clean my brush. Okay. All right, I have to go, but loved hanging out with you. Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, hopefully this doesn't turn out to be a complete weird disaster. uh, I've already been on here for almost 2 hours and I haven't come close to finishing this. So yeah, if you guys need to go, go. I will not hold it against you. if you were like, huh, this is kind of weird. This is not the direction you thought this would go. Because this is going to take a little longer than I originally anticipated. I apologize for that. Don't give up your experimenting. Oh, thank you very much. Good night. Have a good one. I'll see you next time. I think I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. It's still wet. I like how this turned out. I don't know if I can duplicate that. I want to duplicate it. Ah, Okay. Okay. You know what? I thought I knew what direction this was going to go. It's clearly not gone that direction. So I'm going to need to rethink this. Yeah. So, so, oh my God. Um, so I'm gonna rethink this. I'm gonna try this again later. Uh, I'm gonna watch a few more videos. I completely underestimated how difficult this was going to be in making it look good and not just look horrendous. I look frightening in this. So I'm going to take a step back, do some research, and then probably later this week, not next Sunday, but later this week, uh, do another video, and do another live art hour to follow up with this because this is insane. This is crazy. Uh,
Love you.
I love you too, Sam. Thank you for your support. So, I'm gonna try this again later, and I hope y'all have the best of luck this week. Bye.